Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another fantastic episode of The Left Wing. I am TJ Whitehead, powers taken, not given, joined as always by the Ancient One, the Son of the Morning, the Prince of all lies, John Cooper of Counterpoint Politics. How are you doing today, my friend?
I'm doing well. Usually I get your references. Today I did not. Who was that epithet originally belonging to?
Oh, all three of those are traditional titles for Lucifer.
Ah, okay. There we go. Yeah, they didn't teach me that in Catholic school. They just taught me. First of all, okay, what is the difference? Because I've always been confused about this between Lucifer and Satan. Like, are they biblically different characters? Like, and if not, where did the name Satan come from?
Technically, yes. Technically, they are. Biblically, like if you're actually reading the text as it's written, they are different characters. But theologically and colloquially, no. That Lucifer was the angel, the archangel.
Yeah, he was the fallen archangel.
Right.
Yeah.
And he is the devil. That is the same person, right? But Satan, the word Satan is Hebrew for accuser. And in the book of Job, when God makes his bet with Satan about whether Job would disobey him or not, that's not actually with the devil. Satan is a title. Satan is a title of a certain person in heaven whose job it is to find fault in God's followers or anyone else. And so Satan just means accuser, but over time we've given that title to Satan and it's become his name too, or Lucifer has become his name too.
I love that because the book of Job is just, and we'll get into politics, guys. We got to go into a little tangent here.
What we do
the
best.
book of Job is so funny. It is so funny. And to know that the character who is essentially torturing Job, he's just his job is to hate all human beings. Like, it is the greatest hater of all time, will never be surpassed. Just gets God to torture this poor guy for no reason at all. It's like, I remember reading that. It was one of the first, like, we read it in school. And not that I hadn't questioned Christianity or whatever before this. I was never really a believer. But, like, I remember reading that, and, like, one of my Hindu friends was like, oh, that's fucked up. Why would God do that? And I was just like, I really don't have a good answer for you on this one. That is just pretty fucked up to do to a human being. Just treat him like a fucking lab rat to prove something to another creation of yours who you have total power over. It's just really fucked up, that entire story.
It is the best part or worst part of the Job story is that, for those of you wondering what the story is, if you don't know the story of Job, Satan, we all read it as Satan now, although when it was written, it wasn't. It was just another angel. But says, hey, this Job guy, you've given him lots of wealth and prestige, but that's the only reason he worships you. If things got tough for him, I bet he would stop worshiping. God said, no chance, no way. Do your worst and see what you got. So Satan kills Job's family. His kids are eating like in a banquet hall. And a whirlwind or tornado comes and collapses the banquet hall, kills all of Job's kids. All of his livestock die. He loses all of his wealth, all his land, all his property. He's covered in sores and boils, and he's just in agonizing pain. His wife tells him, why are you still worshiping God? He clearly doesn't care much for you. Why don't you curse God and die? He invites all of his friends over, and his friends say, clearly you've done something wrong. Why would God be punishing you if you were innocent? And Job says, I haven't done anything wrong. I'm good. I love God. I'm trying to live a good life. And he begs God to tell him what he did. What have I done to deserve this? And God shows up, which is more than he does for us. But God shows up and spends several chapters telling Job, who the hell do you think you are? I'm God. I don't owe you an answer for a damn thing. And never gives an answer. But after he chews Job out, he goes back to heaven and says, see, I told you Job would still follow me. And then he gives Job a new family. He has more kids now. The old ones are still dead, but he gives them a new family and the animals. So it is a pretty wild story. Do you think the story is better if it's Satan, like the devil, or a bureaucrat angel who's just filling out the paperwork, trying to see who's faithful and who's not?
So it depends how you define better.
Yeah.
I feel like the story serves, I don't know, like basic human morality better if it's because at least like when I was reading it thinking it was Satan, the devil, the ultimate evil, it's like, oh, at least God is trying to use Job to defeat evil.
Yeah.
As weird as that whole relationship is with God being all powerful and all knowing, and like who really gives a shit about Satan if God is all powerful and all knowing, at least it was that. But in this case, he's just trying to prove it to some angel who's also questioning him, by the way, and he is not punishing in the same way he's punishing Job. The way you just described that story now with this context, it honestly sounds like someone's just fucking with their inept boss.
Yeah.
It's just, hey, look, Job's funny. He's questioning you. You should go fuck him up again. And also, just the other like crazy thing about the story is just like, yeah, no, I know your other kids are dead. I could bring them back to life.
Yep.
I could. Not gonna do it. You can have more kids though. Like, that's just wild.
It is. The Book of Job is one. And by the way, the Book of Job is the oldest book of the Bible. It is like their first crack at this whole thing, and it's kind of convoluted. Yeah, kind of convoluted as you imagine. So speaking of sicknesses and everything, before we started the show backstage, I mentioned that I'm in the beginning stages of a cold, and John talked about how last month he was battling some illness as well. Have you ever thought about times you got sick that would have definitely killed you if you lived 200 years ago? Like when would life have ended for you? Yeah, like when is that? So for me, I got bronchitis at 13. And I was down for a couple of weeks. I feel like I lost like 10 pounds. I mean, I couldn't eat. I was just throwing up and my mom had just had a surgery. So everyone at church was bringing us food all the time. The most delicious food that they could create. The smell was wafting through the house. One day, I finally just gave in and ate and just threw it all up. Almost worth it, I would say. But yeah, 13 is when I would have cut out if my vision hadn't have killed me. I have terrible vision. So, but when was that?
Similar age, I got pneumonia, and it was like I had to go to the hospital. I had to get like IVs and shit, and it was like, yeah, no, if I was in like 1200 right now, I'd probably be dead. That's it for John Cooper. And I, even just like if I have a mild stomach ache, I pretend that if I was in 1200, I'd be dead without my fucking Tums and Advil. But that's just me being a pussy. Anyway, great show we have for you guys today. Lots of Trump shit talking. This has been a pretty decent week in terms of hating on Trump. Lots of court cases he's been failing in. There's a revolt against RFK in the HHS. He's weirdly sort of doing military operations in Venezuela, which I definitely want to talk about. And I found some amazing prop bets that we can make on the Trump administration, and I can't wait to go through them. But TJ, what do you want to talk about first?
Well, I would like to talk about Trump first, but not necessarily the topic you mentioned about him losing court cases and everything, because before we get there, if you permit me, I would actually like to share a huge win for Donald Trump. And yeah, I want to talk about...
Besides being alive.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, the him being alive thing. I do want to talk about that because I feel like about a week, I kept seeing videos and posts from people saying, this is it. It has finally happened. Donald Trump is dead and gone. It's all over. And of course he's back. And he's back looking completely normal. All the posts that we saw, I mean, sure, his hand is always messed up and everything, and he still looks like Trump. But all the posts that we saw talking about, oh, look at this guy, he's had a stroke, it's all over. It was all bullshit. It was just mindless speculation that people love to get involved in. And I think I mentioned in the last show is that I don't put any stock in that. It doesn't matter. Like, unless there's some actual evidence that this happens, hold on. Let me get to this real quick. But Trump did you see that video where people were throwing things from the White House when they were wondering if Trump was dead or not? Did you see that video?
So I didn't see the video. That is something I heard about. Maybe the clip you're about to play, like it was mentioned in the press conference. That's the first time I heard about it. I'm very much like you, where I woke up. I forget like what the day was where it like kicked off the speculation, but like I woke up, I opened bed because like I like wasn't paying attention the night before. I was out with friends, and it was like, oh, is Trump alive? I don't know. I'm like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah,
like, it's like you leave the internet for 12 hours and everything changes. But I was just like, this is dumb. Like if he was dead or dying, there would be more smoke here than what we have. As I said on the show before, there's a large amount of evidence that there's some health complication going on. It doesn't make sense that he disappeared like this for the first time ever, but like dying is a whole other fucking kit and caboodle that I wasn't even going to like start considering it as an actual possibility until there was something more concrete.
There was, I guess before I pull up the video, this is an example of this, actually. I'm glad you brought that up about wild conspiratorial talk about Trump and his illness. When he came out and made his speech, I don't even know if you can tell by the resolution right here, but I've been seeing a lot of posts of people talking about Trump's arm and circling like there's like maybe a device there or maybe his arm or shoulder and stuff. People, stop. Just stop. This is embarrassing. I can't get I have been so disheartened at how wildly conspiratorial people on the sane side of the political aisle have been. We're going to talk about RFK and the anti-vax conspiracy folks, but man, have you even going back to like Harris actually won the election and Elon hacked all the voting machine stuff? It's devastating because now there's no way out of this. Now, if you're doing it cynically to try to attack Republicans, I'm all about that. Go for it. Why not? But people who actually believe this stuff, it kind of bothers me.
No, I 100% agree with you. It's something it bothers me when anyone on our side of the aisle acts superior to Republicans and conservatives. Because don't get me wrong, I would wager that, you take the averages, our side of the aisle usually comes up on top more often. But we got millions and millions of dumbasses on our side that are just as sheepish, just as conspiratorial, just as just dumb as all the people on the right. And it is something that I always remind myself of before I start like really laying into the right in general for having dumbasses, because we have just as many. And the people who are like, oh, look at his arm and his shoulder. Look, the election was hacked. It's like, guys, how, come on, like, please, like, again, I'm all for subterfuge, like you said. Like if it's something that's annoying them and you're just doing it to like be a thorn in their side, okay, fine. If you actually believe any of this shit, I got a fucking bridge to sell you, bro. Like I'm sorry. Yes, conspiracy theories are sometimes true, but before you start talking about them with your whole fucking chest, you're gonna need a little bit more evidence than what we got for any of this.
Hard agree. All right, this is the clip that you had heard about with the White House. I don't know if you could even see that from how far away this was, but something was thrown from that window in the White House. And this happened while Trump was missing in action. And people, now I had noticed that maybe this is a common thing. I don't know. I don't have a lot of video evidence of what the exterior of the White House looks like. I don't know. But people kept talking about it. Said something's up. Something's weird here. Trump has been missing for several days. People are chucking shit out of the White House window. What's going on? And this is the clip that you saw earlier where Peter Doocy at Fox News asked Donald Trump, hey, what's up with that video? And his response is kind of interesting.
There is a video that is circulating online now of the White House where a window is open to the residence upstairs and somebody is throwing a big bag out the window. Have you seen this?
No, that's probably AI.
Okay, we're going to go further on this, but what do you think about that response? Because I'm shocked I don't hear this response more often to everything. I guess if I were the president in a high position of power and someone asked me a question that was mildly inconvenient, I would say, maybe AI. Maybe there's something like AI. But the question that he asked, assuming Trump doesn't know anything about this video, which he's kind of playing off that he doesn't, why would you immediately assume, it's got to be AI? Yeah, it got to be AI. What do you think?
No, I do think that it is obvious he knows what it's being talked about and is deflecting. Because Trump is very, for a 79-year-old man, he's incredibly online and definitely knows about this shit. And the thing, if we want to put this, I want to put this back up here on the stage. This guy over his his left shoulder, no idea who the fuck he is. But that look, that look is the look of a man who knows that someone was just asked a dangerous question and he's scared of what the response is going to be. And I noticed several times during this press conference, that guy in particular gave very similar looks.
Oh boy.
Particularly when questions were asked about Trump's disappearance, where it's like, he knows something. I don't know what he knows, but he knows something. And he doesn't know how Donald Trump is going to answer. And that is the most I got from any of these guys.
All right, let's see what else he says here.
the residence upstairs, and somebody is throwing a big bag out the window. Have you seen this?
No, that's probably AI generated.
So
Actually, you can't open the windows. You know why? They're all heavily armored and bulletproof.
a fake video.
Well, it's got to be, because I know every window up there. The last place I'd be doing it is that, because there's cameras all over the place, right? Including yours. No, but every window, I've never seen a window that's, in fact, my wife was complaining about it the other day. She said, love to have a little fresh air come in, but you can't. They're bulletproof. And number one, they're sealed. And number two, each window weighs about 600 pounds. You have to be pretty strong to open them up.
He had me up until that moment, maybe. Like, I thought he was lying about it. I said, okay, I know he knows the video is real. I know he's deflecting. Like, immediately, he didn't say, what video are you talking about? What do you mean? No questions, no curiosity at all. But then he says, because I can see that happening. Well, I mean, these are sealed bulletproof windows. But once he said the windows are 600 pounds, I said, okay, all right, Trump's riffing again. Trump is being our boy.
He had me before that. It was when he said my wife was complaining.
Yeah.
As if he's ever listened to his wife
Yes.
complain before.
Yeah.
That's where I was like, there's no way any of this is true. But however, the correct answer here is just, what the fuck are you talking about? Like that's it. The fact that he has these responses. Now, Donald Trump has a tendency to just lie. He would rather just make up lies than admit he doesn't know something. But still, the fact that he went in this much on the window, before I was like, okay, someone threw something out the window. That could be related to literally anything under the sun. Kind of weird, but like, I couldn't even speculate that that's related to Donald Trump. It could be fucking whatever. It could be Corey in the goddamn house over there. But like, now I kind of feel like it's related to Trump because he seems concerned about it.
Okay, so I'm going to read this article. This is from Time Magazine about this and go into my theory on this, which might be a little insane, but I'm going to have fun with this. Okay, so Trump says the video of the object tossed out of the window was probably AI after the White House implied otherwise. A video posted online on Monday of a black bag being heaved out of a second-story White House window was probably AI generated, President Trump told reporters on Tuesday when asked about it. Trump added that such a video couldn't be real because you can't open the windows in the White House. They're all heavily armored and bulletproof, he said. Trump's comments on the viral video came hours after a White House official gave Time Magazine a statement that implied the video's content was real and showed a contractor doing regular maintenance. The video was originally posted on Instagram, blah, blah, blah. But anyway, that's all I could find about this. I kept trying to find out who from the White House said it, but it just said a White House spokesperson a few hours before Trump did that interview said, yeah, it was routine maintenance and they were throwing trash out of the window. And I said, okay, I can see that. I honestly, I don't know how the routine maintenance works in the White House or if they have a collection system, or there was just a guy who was just trying to save time. That answer made sense. I was like, okay, maybe that happened. But then Trump, who either didn't know about this statement being made and didn't approve it, as if White House staff just speak on the cuff, without the president's consent, or here's what I think. I think he did know. I think he did know that the White House staffer said, yeah, that was routine maintenance, happens all the time. You just don't see it. And Trump's going with conspiracy stuff. I genuinely think, I hate to 4D chess Trump here because people always say he does that. I think he does that with the media stuff. I mean, who knows, this last week, if he just hid out for a week to see what people would say, or if he's just, denying stuff that his own staff say just to get content made. I'm not saying that's true, but I believe he does it. And it does kind of fit in line with Trump and just staying in the headlines. Even with him just disappearing from the limelight made people talk about him more. I don't know if that's the case, but I wouldn't put it past him. What do you think?
Yeah, I think you're playing too much 4D.
Maybe too much 4D.
I think Occam's razor simplest explanation is someone threw something out the window. Probably was a routine maintenance thing. The White House was asked for a statement, and just some official was like, "Yeah, no, is what it was." Donald Trump either had no idea about this video or was generally aware of it but didn't know what the fuck actually happened. And because he always plays offense, can't admit that he doesn't know something or whatever. He's just like, oh, that seems to be an attack on me. I must attack back. And yeah, that can't be true for XYZ reasons. None of them have to be coherent. But this is why. And that seems to me to be the explanation for this whole thing. But Yeah, who the fuck am I? What do I know? Maybe dead body, TJ. Maybe JD Vance killed the actual Donald Trump, and they cloned him, and this is a new Donald Trump, and in that black bag was the original Donald Trump.
I just know that Donald Trump does do things for media manipulation, and that it's the one area in life where he's genuinely smart and talented and better than anyone else. The best example of this was back when he ran for president the first time in 2016, and people kept asking for his tax returns. And remember his response? His response was always that, well, my taxes are under audit, and you're advised to not release your tax returns to the public if they're under audit. And he said this for months and months and months. And then people kept asking for it. And then out of nowhere, Rachel Maddow shows up on MSNBC saying, aha, we've got him. We've got Trump's tax returns, and we're going to go over them on tonight's show. And she did, and they were immaculate. They were just like every I was dotted, every T was crossed, and it showed that he made a lot of money. He paid his taxes on that money. It made him come out looking great. And of course, that was the year that he married Melania. And so there was like a big review over his finances and stuff. Like, it had to be all in order then. That was the year that the 1 year he probably didn't cheat his taxes. And you found out that they got Trump's tax returns. They just showed up in the mail one day to MSNBC. Like, they went to the mailbox and, hey, here's Trump's tax returns from an anonymous source. Trump sent those tax returns. He definitely did. Like, why? So I don't put it past him to do stuff like that. Once again, it doesn't prove that what he did happened, but I think he's a little more clever with media manipulation that even most people give him credit for.
I think that so I generally agree with you, right? I 100% agree that Donald Trump is very good at media manipulation, at least for a politician, which one would think politicians should be good at that. They're not. They really suck at it. But I think it comes less from strategy and thinking ahead and laying traps, and more from just having some pretty decent rules to live by and just executing them at scale. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think that it more so comes from he has certain principles where if he's in a situation like X, he's going to do Y. But I don't think necessarily even the first time that he answered the tax return question, it was like he was playing some 4D chess where he's trying to manipulate the media into making a story about this so he could later send the tax returns. I think it was, oh, this is the answer. And then he was like, oh, shit, well, I got these clean tax returns here. It's a story now. Let's feed this to the wolves. You know, like, I think it's a little bit more improvisational than 10 steps ahead planning. And I think you can see that in every other aspect of his life. That's just kind of how everything else in his presidency goes. So I imagine that even though he's good at media manipulation, I don't think he's suddenly, this mastermind manipulator. It's more so just he has a sense for how to do it.
Yeah, I agree. I would never. I don't think that when he said my taxes are under audit, and 6 months from now, I'm going to send I don't think that happened at all. No, I think that was just kind of an idea that he came up with. I don't think any of these are 10 steps ahead things. I think they're one step ahead. I think, it's like, I'm going to do this, and the media's going to talk about me, and then we're going to move right on and do something else. I don't know. I'll be interested to see, after Trump's been dead like 20 years, and people can like say whatever they want to actually happen and everything that without, fear of any repercussions. I'd like to see any of that. But, well, anyway.
It's going to be fascinating, TJ.
Yeah,
it's going to be fascinating. But anyway, what do you want to move on to here?
Well, since we're on Trump, let's go with the story you were talking about with Trump getting shot down in court and everything.
All right. So here's the thing. We're not just talking about one case of Donald Trump being shot down in court. Over the past week, there have been so many losses for the Trump administration. It is staggering. Probably the largest among them is the ruling that basically said his tariffs are bullshit, that no, this is not something that you can do within, and it wasn't an Emergency Powers Act. I got like so many of these pulled up right now because there's like 8 of them, but we got the tariffs, we got the deportations under the Alien Enemies Act were ruled unconstitutional. His firing of the FTC commissioner was ruled unconstitutional. Today, like, even I sent this list like earlier this morning. Even since then, he lost another court case today where a court ruled that his withholding of federal funding from Harvard was unconstitutional. He's just losing over and over and over again. And it's kind of what we said, like when he did all of these things, like, hey, these are clearly fucking unconstitutional. But the courts just have to figure that out, and he can kind of do whatever he wants in the meantime. Well, he fucked around, and now he's finding out. And the biggest one being the tariffs. This is the one that he's trying to get the Supreme Court to rule on in an expedited ruling, because until he does that, the tariffs are not enforceable. And what the court ruled is that the Economic Emergency Powers Act does not give the president authority to impose blanket tariffs on a whim how he sees fit, while it does give him the ability to regulate and ban certain imports for emergency reasons. Tariffs are never fucking mentioned as a mechanism, which he has, and certainly the way that he's applied them doesn't constitute, the wording of the law, the IEEPA. So that's the biggest one, but just so many losses. I guess, TJ, the question is, how closely have you been following these cases? And are you surprised to see just uniform across the board loss for Trump on all of these?
Yeah, all of them, I guess. But I mean, it depends on where it goes, like which appeals court actually hears it. And the following it is kind of a strong word. Like, I hear when it happens, because Trump's tariffs are struck down all the time. This is, I feel like, the third or fourth time.
Well, this is a big one. This is like challenging the power to implement them in the first place. It's not like, hey, this tariff was unconstitutional. This is like, hey, you just can't set tariffs, is basically what this court ruling is saying. And that's why he's like, yo, Supreme Court, get on this shit. Because it's really bad for him if he's not allowed to do this.
Yeah, and there's what I was going to mention is that it really only matters when it gets to the Supreme Court, right? Like, that's when it actually matters. And I have no idea. The Supreme Court sometimes surprises me and makes actually decent decisions, even like the Republicans. Roberts is, you can count on him making 4 or 5 good decisions every year or something like that out of, 20. But there's 2 courses of action they have here in that, well, 3, I guess. One, they could just try to enforce it anyway and like, hey, stop me. We're the executive branch. We'll do what we want. Or they can go to the Supreme Court, which is the route they're most likely to take, and Trump can lean on them and try to get some to regain his power there. Or third, and they could just do it the right way. I go to Congress, strike while the iron's hot. Like, why not? And granted, I said maybe some Republicans would be afraid of what would happen if the tariffs came back on them, because they tried to offload this authority in the beginning. I remember earlier this year they're saying, yeah, let's just give this power to the president to cede their own power to the executive branch because they don't want to deal with it. But I mean, a lot of them said they didn't want to sign the big, beautiful bill either. They got their arms twisted in doing that either. So I don't know, as long as Trump is in power and we have a Republican Congress and a conservative Supreme Court, they don't seem like victories at the moment,
Yeah, no, and I agree with that. It all excuse me. It all depends on what the Supreme Court says. And the interesting thing about this is that this is basically the same case that was brought for Joe Biden's student debt relief initiative, where then the court ruled 6-3 that he overstepped his authority by moving to cancel up to $400 billion in student loans, in order that the court said had a staggering scope of impact. And essentially what it's called the major questions doctrine. And they essentially generally rule that if Congress wants to give an executive agency the power to make decisions on their behalf, that agency can't make decisions of vast economic and political significance. And that's what they ruled with the student debt relief for Joe Biden. That's why they ruled against that. And the tariffs, by every measure, are a much larger economic and political significance than the student loan relief. And so that's why it seems unlikely that the Supreme Court would just flip-flop on that issue. Because as you said, a lot of people view the Supreme Court as a partisan body, and that's not really the case. You can make your arguments about like your Alitos and Thomases and Scalias of the world having a clear agenda, but like a lot of them do rule on complicated legal principles and reasoning that does not fall in with typical partisan politics. And so like this is one of those cases where again, I'm not a lawyer, but it does seem the people who say that the Supreme Court is probably going to rule this way, who are usually right, they're saying that they're going to rule against the tariffs. So there's that. The other really interesting tidbit here is that the government would have to pay back the tariffs that have already been collected under this act, which would amount to, I think it was, where was it? It was like something like $60 billion. I'm trying to find the exact number here, but yes, like all of the companies that had to pay a tariff will be able to ask for their money back. $65.8 billion. There it is. Yeah, and that's crazy.
I didn't know that, and that doesn't seem like that should be the case, honestly. Because I mean, like the law was passed, well, and you're saying it was unconstitutional. Are we in the habit of retroactively repaying stuff? Because like if I just keep this going down the line here, so I bought a suit this week for your wedding. Actually, and I was out at this men's clothing store, and I was talking to the people who worked there when I was checking out the material, and the lady said, "Oh, the suit is X amount of dollars. It's actually $10 more because of the tariffs, but since we didn't change the sticker price, we're not going to charge you the $10 tariff." And I was like, "Oh, okay, Karen, they're not going to get that money. Well, if they had passed it on to me, I'm not getting that money, right?" It's odd that they can just like because they definitely passed that cost along to someone else, and they're getting kind of paid twice. That's kind of weird.
Yeah, so I mean that's a good point, but also I guess I guess they win in that case. Like they win big time in that case because you can't really retract. But like I think does make sense like that they should be reimbursed. It does suck for us that we don't get reimbursed, but like that's something that I hope the Democratic Party can fucking hammer home and make the general American population understand. But like apparently, like there's already a process for when. What's the exact wording here? Importers can lodge protests at the Customs and Border Protection Agency to obtain refunds. Like there's already a process for when you are imposed a tariff or some other sort of tax that you found out that shouldn't have been because that mistakes are made, and so there's already a process for lodging disputes. And that's kind of what this is going to be, just on probably the largest scale in American history.
Oh, God. All right. So, okay. And this comes to the big point here. I want to get your opinion on this one, John, that you said that this is going to fall under the same umbrella of what rejected Biden's student loans and everything. And we talk a lot about Trump and his actions that are clearly unconstitutional. I know it. You know it. Everyone knows it, as Trump would say. And it doesn't matter quite as much as the optical win for his side and his cohort. And Trump plays on this a lot, even with remember when he sent the National Guard into Washington, D.C., and he said the National Guard is going to go in there. They're going to kick ass and take names. They're going to clean up the streets. Insane for anyone who knows how the National Guard works. You can't really do that. And what they ended up doing was just walking around the safest parts of Washington, D.C. It didn't matter. Right?
They did literally clean the streets. They did pick up trash in his defense.
Okay. Oh, God, I'm so glad you brought that up. Remind me about that. I got to go talk about that too. But yeah, the message that he sent. Now, we would say that's bad that you're sending the military in to handle criminal actions. That's kind of fucked up. They didn't end up doing that, but Trump's fans like that. And if the Supreme Court comes out or the fact that they didn't actually do what he said and what they promised doesn't matter. You get the optics of Trump standing up there saying, "I'm going to do this." Same with the tariff thing. For some, he's amazing. I mean, look, incredible that he's convinced people into thinking that blanket indiscriminate tariffs on multiple countries is just a good idea. It's insane, but they like it. And if he loses it in court, he's still going to be out every day saying the tariffs are great. they're a good thing, he still wins in their eyes. Like it's not really a loss for him. That's not what he wanted, but he still looks good to his supporters. And contrast that with, once again, I'm not trying to be this guy, folks. So the guy who's always shitting on Democrats, but you can learn so much from Trump and everything. Did we see Biden do this with student loans? Did we see Biden out there every day saying this is an important issue? I don't care what the Supreme Court says. They're taking about overturning this. They're hurting you, and saying it every day until everyone knows this. I don't know how, like with marijuana, with Biden saying that he wanted to change marijuana from a Schedule 1 to a Schedule 3, and the Supreme Court rules against it. Fuck them. Just do it anyway. Like make the Republicans be in a public battle with the president of the United States, saying that marijuana is just as dangerous as heroin. It's important to classify it that way. Just obvious optics that we're not taking part in. And I wish we could learn from Trump when he's doing this.
Yeah, no, a couple notes on those optics, because again, we're not saying what Donald Trump is doing is good, but the way that he is going about doing it should be replicated. Like you said, even with the marijuana thing, what is even the point of moving it from a Schedule 1 to a Schedule 3 drug? Who the fuck understands what that even means? Even if I agreed with that policy, which I don't, it should just be legal. But like, even if I did, I'd be like, politically, that's dumb, because no one knows what the fuck you're talking about. Donald Trump, he doesn't come up with some complicated fucking economic policy. He's just like, tariffs. We're gonna charge other countries. We're gonna make them pay a flat rate across the board. And fuck it, China, we don't like them. 150%. That sounds good. That sounds like it'll work. You guys like that? You like that? Yeah, we're gonna go with that. That's how he makes his decisions. And I'm not saying necessarily you should always make decisions for that purpose. But in the case of something like marijuana legalization, when legalization would be the right answer fucking anyway, go broke. You know, go balls to the wall. Do it as aggressively and as visibly as possible in the simplest way for the dumbest person to understand. And that's how you win. And that's why Donald Trump has done so many of these things that are ending up losing him in court. Some of them he genuinely cares about. The tariff thing he does clearly care about, I guess. It has never made any sense to me. But like, he wanted the wins. That's all he fucking actually cares about. If he loses in court months later and people don't even understand what's going on, he comes out on top there. And as much as it is fun for me, it makes me happy that he gets his ass kicked in court over and over again. The average American doesn't even fucking know that. They just know, oh shit, he did this, made me happy. Let's go. Trump good. You know, yep. And that is the problem here. And there's no one really combating that from the get-go. You know, the Democratic Party just seems to be like, hey, we'll see him in court. And it's like, no one gives a shit. No, it's not 2009 anymore. No one gives a shit about what actually happens. All that matters is what we think happens. And fuck, who knows what who knows what he does? Who knows what he does? He's going to try doing something else unconstitutional and just keep kicking the can down the road until he gets what he wants. You know, and that's honestly what Joe Biden should have done. Just keep going at it. Say, this matters to me. This matters to you. I'm going to fight like hell. I'm going to do everything within my power to get it done. That's what people like about Donald Trump. He's doing that for bad things. That's why I don't like him. But if he was doing it for good things, I'd be all on board.
Yeah, I wish I've had a lot of thoughts. You know how we say we need a left-wing Joe Rogan and stuff? We actually need a left-wing Trump, which is hard to get, actually. It's hard to get someone who recognizes the base, servile, and, unintelligent average voter, like on the left or right, like we talked about, and knows how to appeal to their absolute most libidinal urges. Just give them an enemy, give them a very simple goal. And once again, this isn't, I guess it's rude to say that, it's because they're stupid. It's not, because people are busy. Now, most people aren't like us, where they consume this stuff and they live, eat, sleep, and breathe politics. They got lives to worry about. They got families to feed, they got children to take care of, they got mortgages to pay. So, when you get on there and make some sort of speech of, we are introducing a tax credit to college educated workers in impoverished areas who've been there for 5 years. You lose them. It's gone. It's done already. But Trump says no tax on tips. Whether it's true or not doesn't really matter as long as you keep repeating it over and over again. And I was trying to think, I don't know if I mentioned on the show before, who a left-wing version of Trump could be. The closest person I can come up with, I wouldn't really call him a leftist, but he's close enough for my liking, would be Jesse Ventura. I think Jesse Ventura is insane and crazy and earnest enough. Because when Jesse Ventura talks and he says, yeah, I don't think billionaires should exist, I'm with him. All right, I think he's on the right track here. Now, when he starts saying, and UFOs have definitely landed in Area 51. Okay, Jesse's crazy. I would admit, okay, that guy's kind of crazy, but I support enough policies they have. And now he's kind of old, but maybe 10, 15 years ago when he was still big and had the muscles and stuff and the big voice. I think someone like that would be our version of Trump if we could have one.
Yeah, no, completely agree with that. And it's not, people are always like, oh, it's the bombastic nature. It's not necessarily what you need. You just need someone who will fight like hell.
Yes.
And the other magical thing about Trump that like Democrats misread entirely is that we see him be hypocritical. And we go, bro, you're being hypocritical. That's embarrassing. And you know what his supporters see? They see he's willing to be hypocritical for us. Genuinely. Like a lot of them understand the hypocrisy. But the entire ideology is what's good for my in-group is good. What's bad for my in-group is bad. That's not hypocritical to them. They see him being willing to flip-flop on issues for their benefit as a good thing. And pointing out that it's hypocritical only feeds the beast. Something that Democrats really need to learn from, like 8 years ago.
Yeah, if only. I want to get to the comments here real quick. Colby was talking about, I think with the refunds for the tariffs and everything, it's like a restitution. Yes, I agree. And Francisco says, so TJ, you're telling me that the Italian importers didn't pay the tariffs on those suits. And I said, I never said it was an Italian suit. I never once said that. But then I thought, wait, how many suits are imported into the United States from where? It's okay. That's a pretty good guess. That's not an insane guess right there. And then Colby says there are no losses in a Trump administration. Everything is a win and the people eat it up. That's how you got to treat it, man. That's how you got to treat it. You have to, like John said earlier, that Trump doesn't play defense. It's a good strategy. If you're always charging ahead, it's kind of like when you give a public speech or a presentation, more likely than not, the people in the crowd are rooting for you to succeed. They okay, if you're like people doing stand-up comedy or something, the people are there because they want to laugh. You can't tap into, oh no, what if they don't like me? Because you start doing that, you're going to start going downhill real quick. Mm-hmm. Trump assumes all these people are on my side. They're not going to care about the defense. They want to hear my offense. And I wanted to bring up, John, you said the National Guard was picking up trash in D.C. or cleaning up the trash, how they literally were doing it. I don't know if you guys out there have seen these images of what John is talking about, that a lot of these soldiers who show up in these sounds like Washington, D.C., when Trump sent them there, they aren't cleaning up the trash as in the criminal element. They're actually cleaning up the literal trash off the sidewalks. And I have seen so many posts and videos and comments of people complaining about this and saying the good men and women of the National Guard deserve better. I can't believe our troops are out there cleaning trash. People, let me tell you, it is not the first time they've done it. In the Army, they have soldiers doing them. You would not believe what soldiers do on a day-to-day basis, because ostensibly, when you're in the military, you train for combat. That's your job. Like, your actual job is getting up in the morning, you run, you do push-ups, you do ruck marches, you train your body, and then you spend the rest of the day training for your job. You do that for a year. And then you deploy for a year, you come back, you refit, and you start all over again. Now, training for your job, you do any job for 10 months every single day, you get pretty good at it. You get pretty proficient at it, and they test you on over and over again. But the military needs grass to be cut. They need walls to be painted. They need trash to be picked up. They need all sorts of random tasks that your lower level soldiers are going to be doing. They just pull them on these details and have them, like, trust me. It reminds me of when January 6th happened and they sent a bunch of soldiers there afterward. and you had a bunch of soldiers sleeping in parking lots, I kept seeing news reports, people saying, I can't believe they're making the soldiers sleep in parking lots. Like, parking lots? Are you kidding me? That's great. These folks, it doesn't crack the top 5 worst places those soldiers slept in. I can guarantee you that. But I'm glad you brought that up, John, because that was pretty funny. Have you seen those posts too?
I have seen those posts, and I have
Hilarious.
to say why is this not showing anymore? My favorite thing about it, the visual of these guys wearing camo fatigues and then having a bright orange safety vest over the camo. You could not create a better visual metaphor of the waste of sending in the National Guard to pick up trash in Washington, D.C. Like, again, I agree with you. It's not about the dignity of these soldiers. You know, they're soldiers. They don't, you know, they're not treated with dignity by the U.S. government. We know that. But, like, it's a waste. It's a total fucking waste. All the, like, everyone who's like, oh, well, you're pro-crime. You don't want this because you want more crime. No, motherfucker. This is expensive shit. Even if this worked to reduce crime rates, it would be like, you could not do this nationwide. It would cost billions of dollars a day, and it would be mostly useless. Something I wanted to point out about it is just I could not come up with, if I tried to write one for a movie, a better visual metaphor of the waste of this entire policy than a soldiers wearing camo with a safety vest over top.
So you say that. I've seen people say this too. I've seen a lot of people talk about how funny it is that they're wearing camo, which is just, designed to hide you, and then a reflective vest, which is designed to make you very visible. And the only reason that's not quite as funny to me is because the Army actually does this. They do it all the time. Like, this is actually a pretty standard thing in the Army, that you'll either have an orange reflective vest or a bright yellow, like PT, like a reflective PT belt. That is, those are the two things that you'll see soldiers wearing, whether they're, if they're not, like, actually in their unit too. It doesn't matter, because they
obvious, or else they'd all be running into each other. Is how the fuck they are.
Because a lot of times your exercises take you. Our training doesn't happen in the middle of nowhere completely. Like, it's got to be connected to society somehow. So you've got to walk back. You've got to traverse across actual roads sometimes. And they want to make sure you're wearing a reflective vest so that cars can see you don't get hit. And it is absurd. Soldiers joke about how ridiculous it is all the time, because they make you wear it in garrison. They make you wear it in buildings sometimes. And it's like, there's no cars in the park, or not the park, but in the hallway. We're going to be good. And soldiers joke about this all the time. And I remember seeing this meme, I think 10 years ago, where they put one of these reflective vests around planet Earth. That's how soldiers see it. Like, that's how ridiculous it gets sometimes, that they have to wear it all over the place. So yeah, I know it looks goofy, but it is a thing, unfortunately.
All right. What do you want to move on to next, TJ? What was that?
Yeah, I'd like to talk about RFK.
All right, going to RFK. I thought you'd go RFK. So RFK has been, it's actually funny. Do you remember? I was trying to find this. But when he was originally, I don't know if it was like before he was officially announced or when he was officially announced, we did a show about it. And I said, I'm interested to see how the HHS actually responds to this, because in other government bureaucracies, it's very, very bureaucratic. Like, these are bureaucrats doing bureaucrat jobs, and they typically do what they're told from a top-down order. Like, that's just what they are. But the HHS, like, this is medical professionals, people who genuinely care about what they are doing and how they are doing it and the effect that it has on society. And would the rank and file members of the CDC, of our entire public health infrastructure, actually go along with things that they know are going to kill people? And originally, it seemed like they were going to, but we have had some major breaks in the past couple weeks here. It started, I think it was last week or 2 weeks ago, when 4 of the top officials in the CDC resigned over the weaponization of public health after the director of the one of the directors was fired and 4 of the others resigned. And then this week, I'll put this up on the screen here. But we had more than 1,000 CDC's employees signed a letter. So more than 1,000 current and former employees of the Department of Health and Human Services are demanding Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. resign following his ousting of Director of Centers for Disease Control and Prevention and other actions they say are compromising to the health of the nation. Should he decline to resign, we call upon the President and the U.S. Congress to appoint a new Secretary of Health and Human Services, one whose qualifications and experience ensure that health policy is informed by independent and unbiased peer-reviewed science. We expect those in leadership to act when the health of Americans is at stake, states the letter by the group of former and current employees sent to Kennedy and members of Congress on Wednesday. So the HHS is in open revolt against RFK. And RFK is one of those weird, I would call him a weak spot for the Trump administration. Would you agree with that, TJ?
Really? You would?
I would, because he's a genuine crazy person who doesn't make any sense. Like I feel like when it comes to things like the military or tariffs or all these things that don't make sense, it's okay because the government does these sort of things all the time. People don't have to understand them to make them work. But like when it's like, hey, we're getting rid of vaccines, that's something that people, like the average American, is like, hey, I like vaccines. Like as much as we have our anti-vax crazies, that's who RFK is. And that is not even consistent with the general views of the Republican Party rank and file members, you know? And RFK is a wild card. Who knows how many fucking skeletons are in his closet that he'll just admit to, you know, dropping in the middle of Central Park years later. I view him as a weakness, and he's not someone who was on board with Trump from the get-go. He got this position of a quid pro quo to lend his support to Donald Trump for the election. I do view him as a weakness. Republican congressmen have been more outspoken against him than they have most of Trump's cabinet. I don't know. Again, I don't know where this goes or how this ends, but this is one of those situations where just like this can't be tenable for all 4 years of Trump's presidency.
See, I would never have guessed that that you would assume RFK was a weak spot, because I think he's one of the strongest, honestly.
Really?
Especially with the modern day Republican Party. I think he is. I think that like this type of person was a fringe wild conspiracy theorist 10 years ago, but like you said, it's pretty much an average Republican now, to the extent that, like you mentioned it, I think, with the banning of vaccines in Florida. Have you seen this clip that in Florida
they're this clip? No, but I need to hear about part.
All right, here we go. I'll let the attorney or the Surgeon General from Florida talk.
But what I'm most excited about is an announcement that we're making now, which is that the Florida Department of Health, in partnership with the governor, is going to be working to end all vaccine mandates in Florida law. All of them. All of them.
All right, just so you guys heard, he said all of them, and all means all, and that's all means. He's talking about every vaccine mandate, the ones that we all had to comply with to go to school, those included. Listen.
All of them. Every last one of them. Yeah.
Dude, soaking it in. Jesus Christ. Incredible. Wow.
Every last one of them. Every last one of them is wrong and drips with disdain and slavery. Okay? Who am I as a government or anyone else, or who am I as a man standing here now to tell you what you should put in your body?
You're the Surgeon General, bro.
Yeah, right.
Who am I to tell you?
John, you said you're the Surgeon General. You're someone who should know, has some authority on this, I would think. Like someone who might have an important thing to say. Clearly, you don't. I mean, that's kind of wild, but yeah, that was good, John. I would have, but let's get back on stage here.
What your child should put in your body. I don't have that right. Your body, Your body is a gift from God. What you put into your body, what you put
The cheering just because he said gift from God, like the low hanging fruit. My God.
into your body is because of your relationship with your body and your God. I don't have that right. Government does not have that right. They want you to believe they have that right. And unfortunately, they've been successful. They've been successful.
So
But,
with stuff like that gaining more and more popularity amongst the conservatives. Now, I think that there is a significant number of your average folks. I don't think your average American thinks this way. Like, I don't think it's anywhere near a majority. But I mean, what would you put the percentage on for Republicans who say, yeah, that's actually a pretty good idea? When I was working in with the Indiana State Assembly a few years ago, the Indiana Republicans tried to pass the same law. I couldn't believe what I was looking at. I mean, I can now, but this is like 2021. And they said, yeah, we want to get rid of all vaccine mandates, not just COVID, which fine. You want to argue that one? I think it's wrong, but at least I can see where you're coming from. But getting rid of polio and measles vaccines requirements, like, nope, we're not going to do it. You guys just show up to school anytime you want. And I mean, the measles thing, I think RFK really should care about, since, he's responsible for dozens of kids dying from it. So yeah, after seeing that, I'm not sure how much of a liability this really is for the Republican Party, for the Trump administration.
So it's one of those things where, okay, let me compare this to the tariffs, because I feel like it'll explain my reasoning a little. With the tariffs, I would have thought that the average American would immediately understand how stupid that was, and that Trump was just lying about other countries paying tariffs. Turns out I was wrong about that. Turns out that a lot of people either believe Donald Trump or don't give enough of a shit to try and understand what's going on and just go along with it. And eventually, that's going to hurt them. They're going to feel real pain. And when they feel real pain, they're going to want someone to point the finger at, and that's when it's going to start hurting the Republican Party. Until then, they can keep fucking flying with this shit. With the vaccines, again, maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like the only reason the vaccine thing is like a thing for Republican politicians is because there is a vocal but fringe group of the Republican Party that wants this. Very online, very weird. But that isn't most of the Republican voting bloc or most Americans in general. And most Americans look at vaccines and be like, yeah, no, I want the kids my kid goes to school with to be vaccinated. And either it's going to be immediately upsetting to a lot of people, or a lot of kids are going to start dying, because they already have been with measles. And that's going to make people hurt. And there's going to be a very obvious finger. Like, it's not even like you can, like, at least with tariffs, you can be like, oh, economic this, and this. If kids are dying from measles after the measles vaccine was not banned, but not mandated anymore, you can't really, like, point the finger at anything else for that. Like, it's going to be pretty obvious why this is happening. And again, it's not something, and maybe this is the biggest feather in my hat for this argument, it's not something Donald Trump cares about. Donald Trump does not give a shit about vaccines. He does not. One way or the other, he'll just go where the wind blows with it. It's something RFK really cares about. Donald Trump has always been wishy-washy on the vaccine thing. He cares about the tariffs. He cares about the deportations. His fans see that and go, I will follow him. He cares about this. He's passionate about it. I'm going to agree with him. He doesn't give a shit about the vaccines. Your average Trump voter either is pro-vaccine or doesn't give a shit about vaccines. It's only a fringe group that actually wants them unmandated, is what I imagine. You're looking at me like I'm crazy. Maybe I am.
I haven't seen the numbers on this, but I mean, there's a reason he was 0% afraid of putting Robert F. Kennedy Jr., the country's most famous vaccine denier, as front and center in his administration. Why he still trots him. He could have buried him anytime he wanted, but he doesn't. And he just came out with that post saying that he wants to do an investigation into Pfizer and everything about the COVID vaccine. Did you see that on his Truth Social?
I did not see that, no.
Yeah, let me see. Actually, I have it right here. He puts up yesterday where he said that it is very important that drug companies justify the success of their various COVID drugs. Many people think they're a miracle that saved millions of lives. Others disagree. With CDC being ripped apart over this question, I want the answer and I want it now. I have been shown information from Pfizer and others that is extraordinary, but they never seem to show these results to the public. Why not? They go off to the next hunt and let everyone rip themselves apart, including Bobby Kennedy Jr. and the CDC, trying to figure out the success rate or failure of drug companies' COVID work. That doesn't make sense. They show me great numbers and results, but they don't seem to be showing them to many others. I want them to show them now to the CDC, to the public, to clear up this mess. One way or the other, I hope Operation Warp Speed was brilliant, as many say it was. If not, we all want to know about it and why. Thank you for this attention to this very important matter, Donald J. Trump. So Trump he's always been in this rock and hard place situation with the COVID vaccine, because I think Trump is probably the most reasonable Republican when it comes to vaccines. That's how I think, is that he knows the COVID vaccine was good. He knows it saved lives. He definitely took it before anybody else did. He's aware of this. And he has spent, 4 years trying to take credit for this, trying to get, have you seen those clips whenever he brings it up to a Republican crowd? He gets booed, just showered with boos. I don't think that is an anomaly. I don't think that is like a fringe element that they're suspicious of. I guess you could say specifically the COVID vaccine, but vaccine denialism in general, the group isn't getting smaller. It doesn't seem
that's fair. That's
it doesn't
fair.
seem to be getting smaller. It seems to be growing all the time. And now that you have these folks actually in positions of authority and the people in the CDC speaking out against it, there's a certain segment of the population, like the conservative segment. Like, what are they? I think I think the number is that 70% of the country took the COVID vaccine. I think that 30%, we all know what side of the aisle they're on. Like, that's how that they're all on board with Trump. That is a sizable enough percent of the population that they can direct the movement of the Republican Party for the foreseeable future. I don't know, but I think that Kennedy is going to be more in line with Republicans than not. That's just how I feel about it.
Maybe, and maybe the goal, like, again, but okay. And here's the last piece of this.
Mm-hmm.
If this continues playing out, like this storyline with the HHS rank and file, they continue to revolt, and it just shuts the fuck down. That's clearly what he wants to do with the Department of Education. And if the Department of Education shuts down, that's something where I'm like, yeah, Republicans would actually probably cheer that on.
Yep.
But they might pretend to cheer this one on, but it's that one's going to explode rather quickly. Like, that's going to be pretty bad. A lot of people are going to die, and it's going to be very obvious what the reason is. And that's why I'm just like, there is a massive liability here, where they might even just say might get rid of him. He's very get riddable of, and they might get rid of him just to keep the place fucking functioning. You know, I don't know. Maybe you're right.
Well, I don't either. The reason that I have some reticence over this is that I think that, the general population, I agree. And maybe there would be an upswell with most of the community saying this is actually kind of messed up, but they already are on that side. But the people who are in power and have control of a party, of one of the two major political parties, I don't think they're going to care how many people die. We just saw them go through COVID, right? They don't. They know. You can tell the numbers. That was different.
Like, that was different. Like,
they wouldn't just say it was fake news. They wouldn't. Nope. That's not actually happening. I mean, we have more measles. Like, what are I stopped checking like a couple of months ago, but the measles cases, like in the summer of this year, were more than the last like 3 or 4 years combined. Like, it is already growing exponentially. No one seems to give a fuck, and it's going to get worse and worse and worse. But I can like, could you easily imagine them saying, "Yeah, it's bullshit. It's fake news. I don't buy it. That's the liberal media trying to trick you into giving vaccines to your children"?
I can imagine them saying it, TJ. I don't know if it'll work for them.
I hope not. I hope not.
All right. Well, okay. So we got plenty of time. We're sailing through topics here, TJ. Look at us. Actually getting our topics done. We haven't gotten all 4 topics done in months. I can't remember the last show where we got all 4 topics done.
Yeah, it's just that you run across some really fascinating stuff when you start talking and everything and going off on rabbit trails, and those are kind of fun. You don't want to let those opportunities die. You only go, live this life one time. You can't squander these opportunities.
Well, let's move on to our next one then. Are we going to war with Venezuela? Or not within? Are we going to war in Venezuela? Is probably the better question here. TJ, how much have you heard about this story so far?
Okay, so I saw this. Man, when did this happen? Yesterday?
Yesterday.
Yes. Okay, yeah. That. Well. Actually, so I remember Trump sent a bunch of warships to Venezuela last week or something like that, and he said that a while ago the United States government declared certain cartels as terror organizations, which we've granted them that authority, honestly, ever since the authorization of use of power back in 2001 or whatever. The government can actually do that. They can say, yeah, this group, this isn't a criminal action anymore. This is a terrorist action. We're going to go to war. So they labeled, I know it was MS-13 and Tren de Agua, I think, which is a group I never heard of before until this started this last year or whatever.
I'd heard of it before this, but yeah, not MS-13 was definitely the larger one.
John's familiarity with South American gangs is a little stronger than mine. Apparently, he's got the street cred and everything. But he released this video showing purportedly, according to the United States government, a boat full of drug traffickers. That's all we know. We have no idea who these people were. We have no idea if there were any drugs. They didn't even say what kind of drugs they were. And a drone video of them being blown to bits on the ocean floor.
Let me show that for you here.
Let's go.
So we got the video. So this is the video of them getting blown up. Are we seeing this? Perfect. Yeah.
Of what appeared to be a drone view of a speedboat exploding and then on fire. This marks the first known operation since the Trump administration's recent deployment of warships to the Southern Caribbean. Trump said the
All right, so yeah, that was the ship getting blown up. It very, very strange. Not strange. It makes sense, but it is just like a weird random thing that happened.
Well, I mean, it's not a good sign, right? I don't know if you remember this. This would have been like a year and a half ago on the show. We did a whole segment about Ron DeSantis, and Ron DeSantis saying that if he was elected president, he would send the military into Mexico to do drone strikes on the cartel. Do you remember that?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so I mean, it's just come to fruition, except that it's Donald Trump in Venezuela instead. What's really depressing about this is, do you guys remember back with Chelsea Manning, when Chelsea Manning released video of things that took place in Iraq, and the video showed a group of insurgents who had been shot, and then an ambulance team, like some crews came in, like first responders, help them out. And then you saw from the military helicopter, the cameras, whatever, they said, and they shot all the first responders, just mowed them down. And that was a major scandal. I mean, Chelsea Manning went to jail for this, among other things. And it turned out, this happened. They just covered it up. The United States government says, we're not going to let this video get out of our military just gunning down first responders from people they should have killed in the first place. And that was a major scandal. It's not radically different than this right here. Like it isn't. Like, transporting drugs is not a capital offense. Last I checked, nor is it a wartime offense. We don't even know if they were actually transporting drugs. Hell, I mean, we don't know anything about this, and it's not going to get a lot of airtime. It's not going to get a lot of coverage. We're like, oh yeah, that's what we do. Who cares? It's in our hemisphere. Monroe Doctrine. We haven't brought that up in a long time. Monroe Doctrine or whatever. We're going to do the police force for the entire West, and the silence is kind of depressing to me.
It's depressing, but honestly, entirely expected. Like, what you're saying is right. This is fucked up. Even if these guys are Tren de Agua soldiers, or whatever the fuck you want to call them, that were transporting drugs, it would be fucked up. But we don't even know that. We just know Donald Trump says they are. And his history of claiming that someone is part of a Latin American gang isn't very fucking perfect. In fact, it's incredibly checkered. In fact, it's more often than not that if he says that someone is part of a gang, I'm more convinced than not that they are not part of a gang. Like that is where it is. For all we know, this is just a boat of people that was just going about their lives. Suddenly, airstrike from above, they're all dead. But even if I'm going to believe that he's telling the truth, what fucking right do we have to do that? Because, as you said, drug trafficking isn't a capital offense. It is not an act of war. It has never been something to define someone as an enemy combatant. And we just killed them. We had the ability. They're on a tiny little fucking speedboat. We got warships there. We could have apprehended them. We could have taken evidence. We could have brought them in for questioning. If we really actually gave a shit about fighting this criminal organization, then apprehending them and getting information from them would be the far more beneficial thing to do than just killing them. But none of that really matters, does it, TJ? Because as we were talking about before, it's the spectacle that matters. It's, oh, we're doing something. We're fighting these drug dealers. How are we doing it? We're blowing them up in their boats. Simple. Everyone understands. Does it matter that it makes no sense? No, it fucking doesn't. All that matters is that people understand it immediately.
Yes, it's going to work. It's going to work. Like this is the same issue that you run into, that people don't like to, I don't know, a lot of the arguments for what actually worked and what's beneficial is a touch too cerebral for your average person who's voting and supporting policy based on the lizard brain. When you say, hey, we have a drug problem in the United States, everyone knows that we do. And they say, okay, we need to do something to combat the spread of these illegal drugs, these like unregulated drugs. Okay, we could legalize it, right? We could at least decriminalize it, or find some way to, because I am more than willing, especially after changing my heart on the whole gambling thing, I'm more than willing to listen to arguments of saying flooding the market with a bunch of additional narcotics and hallucinogens and stuff could have some damaging effects on society. All right, I'm on board. I'm willing to hear it. But our current system is pretty bad. Like, you're just making it illegal and having this underground, same lesson we learned with prohibition with alcohol. This isn't going to work. You know, you got to deal with the damage that comes along with this. But just having that and say, I'm doing something about the problem, I'm blowing them out of the water, literally. I'm just going to blow them up. A lot of people are going to say, finally, someone's doing something about it. Finally, some action's being taken. And it's pretty hard to argue from the logical side or the moral side or the legal side saying, hey, these are human beings that you're blowing up. And like you said, John, would it make more sense to actually apprehend them and question where this is coming from so we can shut down further trade routes, find out the source of this? People aren't thinking that far. They don't want to hear it. And you're just the guy who wants drugs into the nation. That's unfortunate, but yeah, it's a hack in the system that they're dealing with. And someone mentioned it earlier, Colby. On fire today, Colby. Colby said, Hegseth today said or implied that the United States would support a regime change in Venezuela. I have that clip. This is Pete Hegseth, the Honorable Pete Hegseth. Whenever you get this title, the honorific is literally the honorable. That's his who he is, actually, which is kind of insane to think about. But this is him on Fox News, and they ask him if regime change, if taking out Nicolas Maduro and installing our own leader of Venezuela is our goal. And he doesn't say no. So let's see what he has to say here.
So Nicolas Maduro, as he considers whether or not he wants to continue to be a narco trafficker, has some decisions to make. And that's all I'll say about that.
Is regime change our goal there?
Well, that's a presidential decision, and we certainly understand the indictment. We understand the $50 million. Anyone would prefer that he would just give himself up, but that's a presidential level decision, and we're prepared with every asset that the American military.
I hate that. I hate that. I don't know if once again that's honestly it's a standard answer you're supposed to give that you don't. I can't confirm or deny. I'm leaving all options on the table. It is something that politicians say a lot, but I hate when they do this with military actions that are completely unwarranted and unnecessary. They did it with Greenland. They did it with Panama. This one, they've actually already taken military action against almost certainly civilians, right? We're not going after the Venezuelan military with this, whatever. It's just
certainly time. Civilians. Like, yeah. Again, like if you're going to stretch the definition of combatant to anyone who's part of a criminal organization, Sure, but even then, there's no proof that,
Yeah,
that
yeah.
they were part of this criminal. No one's even pretended to give any proof. Like they're just like, yeah, no, they're terrorists. Fuck them.
I hate it. I hate it so much, man.
It's pussy shit. It's like genuinely, TJ. It's pussy shit. Like I don't know. I don't know when we. I don't know. How do I put this correctly? I'm going to tie this into masculinity because there's a very strong,
Let's go.
masculinity storyline going on here where, like, anytime Pete Hegseth is on the fucking screen, you think of toxic masculinity, but it's like, when did it become masculine to just fucking kill people? Like just random people? Like, when did that become the right thing to do? Because, like, I don't know about you, TJ, but in every fucking piece of media, in every, like, people who just kill people nonchalant without any reasoning or evidence as to why they need to be killed, even if you look at, like, anti-heroes, they're typically against that shit. You know, like the Punisher would be very upset about this. And it's like, when did this become, oh yeah, we're the strong, tough guys who just fucking kill people in a boat that couldn't defend themselves without any evidence that they were fucking terrorists? Like, I just, it seems weak to me. Like, it comes across as weak ass pussy shit. And I don't know when, I don't know, maybe I was always on the wrong side of understanding masculinity in that way. But like, it feels new to me that this is just like the way men behave now if you're going to be a tough fucking warrior.
Well, I mean, I don't know. Masculinity isn't a axiomatic good quality, right? Yeah, you can have. It's hard to imagine. Like, let's say, I don't know if you ever saw like the Kurgan in Highlander. I don't know if you ever saw the Highlander or whatever, but the Kurgan is an ancient warrior who massacres people for a living. That guy's masculine, right? He is. I wouldn't say you can be evil as fuck and still be masculine. I still think that it still applies, but
at least masculine good guy.
Right, but okay. So yeah, so if you're thinking if like Pete Hegseth is my guy and he's a good guy, but that goes to the other thing too, that masculine guys do kill bad guys. And if your automatic thought is Venezuelan drug dealers, bad guys, dead bad guys is a good thing. And if someone's going to go out there and do it, I'm all on their side. This is easy to do. I mean, I think about this so Donald Trump, how you've seen him, how he calls Chuck Schumer a Palestinian as a slur, as an insult, right? He said it's about Hillary Clinton, or Joe Biden said, yeah, this guy's basically a Palestinian. Kind of fucked up that goes by and no one really says anything about it. That imagine if he said, like, oh, this guy's like, let's look at this guy. What a Jew he is. Like how that would go over, like how awful that is. But you can say it about Palestinians because our entire lives we have been taught Palestinian equals bad person. So whenever someone besmirches them or insults them or uses their nationality as a pejorative, it doesn't really gain much traction to the extent that, oh yeah, Israel's killed 80,000 Palestinians. Well, that sucks, right? Now war's awful. I think that if you dehumanize your opponents enough, yeah, that can seem masculine to a lot of people. You don't care that, you know, this person hasn't had due process or they weren't actually investigated. Nope, that's a bad guy. The fewer of them around, the better. All right, makes sense to me.
You got a point there. Francisco brings up, it's like the scene in The Departed where the two guys are standing outside the bar and everyone that walks by they say is a cop. And like, yeah, first of all, Departed is mostly the reason I put this comment up there because it's just a fucking good movie and I'll always reward that kind of behavior. But yeah, no, it's just like, yeah, he's a fucking terrorist. That guy, terrorist. I don't know, the way he walks.
Look, what was that name? American Sniper, the movie about Chris Kyle.
Mm-hmm.
Chris Kyle was seen as a hero in the United States for over a decade, I think. I think his reputation has soured recently, but between, I'd say, 2005, 2015, people loved Chris Kyle. Like that movie was a massive hit. It was a good film. I admit the movie was well made. I gotta say, I thought the movie was well made and everything.
Ooh, we should do a Left Wing Film Club of that movie because I have many takes on that movie.
Sure.
And, yeah, no, I will. We should. Totally do that.
I would love to do a discussion on movies that have dog shit politics, but I love anyway. Or like, I think we must have talked about this. The Patriot is way up there for me. I think the Patriot.
That's a good like tier list that we can do.
Yeah.
Or like a graph. You know, like a y-axis how good the movie is.
Yeah.
X-axis
Oh,
how good the
that's
politics
perfect.
are.
That's perfect. I
And
love
we
that.
can do it with like war or like a certain genre. Okay, but loving this. If you guys like that idea, make sure to like and subscribe so you know that when we come out with that episode. But
Corey killing it today. Yeah, pretty much any Clint Eastwood film
Any
falls
Clint
into
Eastwood
that.
movie.
Yeah, that too. Like
Gran
Dirty-
Torino,
Gran
such a
Torino,
good movie.
Dirty
Such
Harry.
a good movie.
Yeah, I mean, just man, like a guy, like if he was this guy gave me the treatise of his philosophy, he's like, yo, that's fucked up. I will watch you do it all day long, though. That is some pretty entertaining stuff. But no, like Chris Kyle was seen as a hero, and in his book, I'm pretty sure in his book he wrote something that he would shoot any male who he gauged to be between the ages like 15 and 65. He said, yeah, if I saw a dude like that and I had a shot at him, I'd take it. And we lauded this guy as like a symbol of American exceptionalism and how someone we should look up to. Yeah, it's pretty easy for us to twist our morality and dehumanize people all day long. This is like, oh, go ahead, sorry.
I was gonna say it's been a while since I watched the movie, but I remember leaving the theater being like, this guy's supposed to be the hero. And then I learned all of that fucked up shit. It wasn't even like I went into the movie being like, oh, this guy's fucked up. How could they make a movie about him? I went in the movie expecting to like it. I actually didn't because I don't like war movies in general. But I was like, I like Clint Eastwood, so I'm going to give this a shot. And then, yeah, I was like, God, this guy's kind of fucking disgusting. And it gets worse. Like the more you learn about him.
You don't like war movies?
Yeah, I don't. Okay. So
what?
Okay, this is our show about Venezuela, guys. We got so yeah. No, I don't like generally modern war movies because I feel like they're very cheap in their action, and usually the point of the movie is that war sucks. Isn't this so terrible? Like you give me a fucking Braveheart where people run around fighting with swords all day, every day. I don't think most modern war movies have good action choreography in the same way that like medieval war movies do. And it's mostly just run around, shoot. There's no real like choreography going on. It's not like a John Wick movie, you know? And so it's just like the action is worse than an action movie. The characters usually are pretty one-off because most of them die. And the moral and the lessons of this movie are always the fucking same. Like it's just like most war movies, I'm pretty like I don't like the D-Day one that everyone fucking loves.
Saving Private Ryan?
Saving Private Ryan, don't like that movie. Don't like Hurt Locker, don't like all of these. They're not my shit. There's a couple. Fury, great fucking movie. And that's good because the action scenes are actually fucking good and inventive. And the story is at least personal and not just about how war is bad. Yeah, just not a fan of war movies in general.
Man, you don't like Saving Private Ryan. That is
everyone fucking loves it. I know. It's just I didn't even fucking finish it, TJ.
Oh my god, you didn't even finish the movie?
I was just like, this movie's so boring.
What? Wait, okay. Wait, so do you know if they actually saved Private Ryan or not? Like, do you even know?
Like I at one point I knew how the movie went, but
incredible. Wow, that's a first. Okay, Band of Brothers. Did you see the Band of Brothers series? The HBO series.
The Band of Brothers series. I imagine I might like it a little bit more, but I imagine it would also it probably wouldn't stick.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. This explains. Sorry, folks, we're off the rails here, but this happens. This is why we don't finish the topic sometimes. But this is fun. So
we have extra time here. I don't know.
Oh yeah, that's great. All right, so we were going over a list of films to talk about once, and I included Full Metal Jacket, and you said, and I remember you saying, yeah, I don't want to do Full Metal Jacket, and so you probably don't like Full Metal Jacket either. I'm guessing.
Okay. It's not that I don't like Full Metal Jacket. Full Metal Jacket is a fine movie, and it is on my list of movies that I need to watch again. I like the first part of Full Metal Jacket, and then as soon as they go to war, it lost me. So like, and specifically that second part, I want to watch with a new lens on it. I love Kubrick. Give me a Kubrick movie, I'll watch it. But it's just like as soon as like they left the fucking training and they went off to war, the movie lost me, and I'm like, what the fuck are we doing here? I don't know if you feel similarly to that like the first half is much better. But
a lot of people say that, and the first half is the first half of Full Metal Jacket is some of the most entertaining stuff you will ever see.
Yeah.
It is like it's not supposed to be a comedy, but it is. It is like it's because when you get basically certainly back then drill instructors free reign to say and do whatever they want to recruits, they come up with some incredibly creative shit. And like the insults, the jokes, the tear downs, and then there's I don't know, dudes are kind of like this. Like this is kind of my most conservative red pill opinion right here. I don't verbalize it a lot because I don't have a chance to talk about it many times. But I saw this clip with Shaquille O'Neal talking about his kids. And he had a couple of sons and a couple of daughters, I think. And they were asking him, like, oh, yeah, your son's about to turn 18. What are you going to do? He's like, yeah, I told my boys that, when they turn 18, out of the house, fuck out of here, create your own life. You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. You got to go wherever you want. He said, what about your girls? They can stay as long as they want. He's like, my girls can stay with me as long as they want. They will always have a home with their father and everything. And I remember, you hear people say this, that stress and difficulty is important for people to mature and to grow. Everyone needs some sort of a conflict in their life. But I think that if I had to give more stress to one person, I'd give it to a man rather than a woman. I think that too much stress, it's worse for women than it is for guys. And so, and I think that plays out a lot in how guys, like how we enjoy ourselves. When women enjoy themselves, they come home, they have like nice music, they have like incense or some shit burning or whatever, they kind of relax. What do guys do when they come home? They turn on their PS5 and play the most stressful video game that they can find. And that's how they relax. Like that's like really big and important for guys. So when we see movies like we see like Kobe Bryant speeches to like motivate yourself to work out, or then we see military films where they're training and going through the trenches. They're like, oh, that's great, I would love to do that. That's just kind of part of being a guy. So I think it speaks to that part of the psychology of men right there. And then once the war starts, it's like, oh, this is actually work. It's kind of drudgery and it kind of sucks. So I can see why people have that drop off there.
Yeah, no, and I'm going to throw you a little life raft here, TJ. Not saying all men are like that and all women are like that. You obviously have cross sections. You have different individuals who think different things, but in the broad strokes, what you're saying is right. Like there are, whether it is biological or just sociological, we condition men and women different when we're raising them. It just is the way it is. I think Lego did a study, and they found that like boys typically play with Legos in a very free-form manner, whereas girls typically follow the fucking directions and want to build the thing and make it as pretty as possible. And they found that boys typically have a higher desire to take risk and to have, make the Legos fight and things like that. And it is, again, I can't really say what it is, but yeah, typically I do think that Shaq saying, yo, yeah, get the fuck out of my house. Maybe he should have done that with the girls too, but like probably, yeah, they probably live very pampered lives. Maybe they need a kick in the ass to go do things. They're going to be rich. They're going to be wealthy. I'm sure Shaq's taking care of them, but yeah, that probably is a good fucking parenting strategy for Shaq, particularly as a multimillionaire famous person. But yeah, no, I think I generally agree with that take. I wouldn't necessarily gender it as harshly as you did, but I do think that it is there is a gender divide there.
No, then you are gendering it. Like I did.
Again,
it's just like,
I wouldn't like set the fucking thesis statement as the gendering. I would set the thesis statement as, yeah, sometimes people need a kick in the ass to like get to where they are, need adversity and stress and struggle in their lives to achieve what they can achieve. And then add in an anecdote about, hey, men and women tend to be different about this. But yeah, no, I generally agree with you.
I don't know. I enjoy hearing like conservative opinions from lefties, because we all have some. Like we all have some. And I'm old in this case, but there are a lot of, because I thought about this a lot. Like there are a lot of, I try to keep my positions based solely on logic, rationality, and egalitarianism and all that. But it's not true. It's not true for anybody. Like we all pretend to be that way, but we're not. And like with gender dynamics is one of the most interesting ones. And I was thinking about this, that So years ago, I remember I was living, I was in Indiana, so I was living still in Indiana, but I was dating someone, and we would park, like we had to park far away from the apartment, and it gets really cold in Indiana, you know. And so during wintertime, it makes perfect sense. I was a man, she's a woman. Like it makes perfect sense for me to shovel the driveway, right? Like I'm stronger, it'll be done faster, it's more efficient. Like of course, I'm going to shovel the driveway, absolutely. However, every morning I would walk out to the car and start it for her. Now, there's no real reason that I have to do that, right? Like she is just as capable as I am of walking 20 feet, outside, starting the car, coming inside. Like she's not going to suffer any more than I am. She's not going to suffer from hypothermia or whatever. But no, I'm doing that. Like she can if she wants, of course. I'm not going to stop her. But as long as she's with me, she never has to go outside and start her car. Now, there's no real actual like egalitarian or logical reason for that. It just seems like the gentlemanly thing to do. And we all have kind of thoughts like this and we pretend we don't. And I think it's important to acknowledge them because it's honest, you know?
I think it's important to acknowledge them for the sake of, and I always say this, like your gender is something that you perform and you're allowed to enjoy perform. In fact, everyone does. Cis people also perform gender. It's not just trans people performing a gender that doesn't, whatever the fuck. We do it too. When this weekend on Sunday, I'm going to sit my ass down at 1:00 and drink beer, eat wings, and watch football until 11:30 at night. And I'm going to feel like a fucking man. I'm inviting all my guy friends over, and we're just going to be men together. And we're going to feel like men. And it's something we look forward to every goddamn year, in part because it allows us to perform our gender. Is there a fucking reason why? Can you give me a logical reasoning as to why that makes me feel like a man? No. Who gives a shit? It does. It gives me fucking pleasure. It doesn't hurt anyone. It's important to acknowledge that that's a me thing, and I can't just imprint that onto other people and judge them by the fact, like, I'm not going to think someone else is less of a man because they're not doing that on fucking Sunday. That's important, and it's why we should discuss these things. But it's totally okay that makes you like drink beer, watch football, fucking fight with your bros, whatever the fuck you want. Makes you feel like a dude. Yeah, fucking do it. Makes you happy. Go fucking do it. It would be hypocritical of me to like support trans people and their gender identity without also supporting cis people fucking performing their gender identity.
I agree. It's important to, it's a part of the human experience. I saw Francisco commented here that I grew up loving Darth Vader, but despising the Empire. That's good. That's a good example right there. I kind of like that
actually is a good example.
That's good.
To this day, it's just like, give me more Darth Vader. Empire, dumb as shit. But Darth Vader, love him. Every single thing he's in, he's awesome.
I have a question. So you may have come along a little later than this, John, but I remember watching Star Wars. I was 13 years old when I watched Star Wars the first time, all three movies. And this would have been in 1994 or 1995. And I watched the movies and I heard all of my friends talking about Boba Fett and how cool Boba Fett was. And the only Star Wars movies that existed were the original three at that time. And I was like, what? This character is the one era? Like Boba Fett has like 6 lines in all three of the original Star Wars films. I couldn't figure out why this guy was popular or not. Darth Vader, I see why you loved him, but Boba Fett, I don't know when you became aware of Star Wars, there was probably a lot more Boba Fett content out there, but did you understand that?
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying. So for me, Star Wars, like I was born in 96. And so like Star Wars existed and the prequels were the same thing to me.
Yeah.
Like the first one came out in 99, 2000.
Yeah, 99.
Like yeah. So like, and I started watching real fucking young. So like you were 13, you like had a developed brain that was able to understand things at that point. I was fucking like 4 when I first watched Star Wars. So it was just like, I specifically remember like being like, I like when there's like shooting and stuff going on and the rest of it's boring, And so like, I don't have like an opinion of Boba Fett from when I first watched it. I was too young.
Yeah.
But like I agree with you. It's like, but he has a cool like kind of accent, like voice going on thing. He looks cool, but yeah, he definitely is overplayed in terms of his importance. But I also think that's what's cool about art in general. Like, you can just have a little side character that ends up just getting a fandom and then getting more shit. We have the Mandalorian now, you know, like it's cool. Like, I like that about. I like the expanded universe of Star Wars way better than any of the fucking movies.
Fair enough. Fair point there. So Colby commented, The Pacific, the sister series of Band of Brothers. I imagine you haven't seen that. If you haven't seen Band of Brothers, you probably haven't seen The Pacific either.
No, I've not seen this.
Okay, well, never mind then. It's not, you don't gotta watch it. Band of Brothers you should watch though. I'm interested to see what you would think of Band of Brothers. Like, that's a true story about an airborne company back then. It's pretty good. And for instance, in 1995, I had blue milk in my baby bottle. That's good to know. This is good to know.
And Colby brought up, I have the PS5 right here. So just to like hammer home TJ's point, when we're done this stream, I'm going to boot up the PS5. I'm going to play Lies of P, which is a Dark Souls like, where I'm just going to lose to the same fucking boss that I've been losing for the past like 2 hours of gameplay over and over again, and that is how I'm going to relax. So that's that, TJ. Like, it is. I can't actually argue with what you said because it describes me perfectly.
Yeah. Also, all right. So when you said that, by the way, this doesn't mean all. I hate that we have to do that. In fact, I try not to because
I know what you're saying. I know you're like, oh, we shouldn't. It should be implied and understood.
Yes,
but it's not. It's not. No.
This is like language is spoken in generalities, right? We can't refer to every single possible. So we refer to it in general. I always refer to this as the most annoying kid in class. If you get up and you say something like men are taller than women, I don't need someone to raise their hand and say, well, I know a lady who's 6'8". Okay, got it. Like, I know, I'm aware of this. If I say fire trucks are red, I don't need you to let me know, well, actually, some of them are yellow. I got that. Okay, we know that very few things are true 100% of the time. And unless what I'm stating or anyone that you hear is stating something that is like factually inaccurate enough that it causes problems. Here's another. Oh my God, this conservative cheat is coming out of the show. I'm really sorry, John. But one way I hate is that people get trapped is with actually the gender issue, in which people ask, hey, can men have babies? And then the answer is like this 9-minute speech. The answer is no. Okay, that's the answer. The answer is no. Okay, because what they're asking and what you're answering are two different things. So acknowledge that, right? Yes. So answering the question that they're asking, no. Like when they ask, can men have babies? They're asking, like, can John and I have a baby? The answer is no, right? And so, but if you duck that question, it makes you look dishonest. And if you want, and people might feel bad about that because they say, well, you're excluding a portion of the population. Look, that's how language works. So the example I use on this is, imagine if I asked, hey, do humans have tails, right? Not like tailbones, not the coccyx. Do humans have external tails? The answer is no, right? It's not always no. Some people are born with prehensile tails, right? So it happens. It's a tiny percent of the population, but no is still an accurate answer because it's true enough for this conversation to take place. So if someone comes and say, hey, can men have babies? No, the answer is no. And like, if you want to go into more detail about it, we can. But for the purposes of the actual answer, the question you're actually answering, the answer is like, how many legs do human beings have? Well, the answer is 2, right? Well, sometimes it's 1, sometimes it's 0, sometimes it's 3. But for the answer of the common conversation, it's actually 2. So I don't know. I think that we get so tied up in the academic responses of it and trying to specify things to a certain degree that it makes you lose in the public opinion. That's how I see it.
I mean, you're 100% correct here, TJ. We were doing such a great economically efficient show, and we've gone off the rails for the past half hour. It's all right. And I got to go in on what you just said, because this is a very interesting topic, because so I agree with what you said. It feels, it does feel, I don't know, icky in a way to like have to say what I said there of like, we're not talking about all men, we're not talking about all women, we're talking generalities here. And there's a piece of me that feels resentful that I need to say that. Because, guys, we should fucking understand here, right? We should understand that me and TJ are on the good side here. And we just are taking the normal fucking person shortcuts to express what we believe. Because there should be a level of trust between us and our audience that we aren't saying this in the asshole way, you know? And the problem is, for me specifically, is that is a assumption that I have made a few too many times, and it has caused problems for me. And so I feel the need to say it defensively, and that does sort of build up resentment. And from that, I can understand how other people who do mean it in an assholey way feel, and get pushed more towards the assholes because they feel like they're being pushed away by the people who take what was a totally fine statement and take offense to it. It makes sense. I'm not saying they're right. I'm saying I understand how they feel. And the reasoning that I use to kind of get around that resentment and remind myself, hey, this is nothing to resent, is I go, it's something like laying cover for those people. If I say something like, oh, well, you know, a false rape report is bad too, you know. Yeah, that's a true statement. It's mostly said by assholes to discredit about sexual abuse. So if I'm going to have that conversation, if I feel a need to say that in some sort of context, I want to make the context incredibly clear. And it's not about defending myself from criticism necessarily, even though sometimes it is, but it's also about not giving cover to assholes to use this same rhetoric to hurt people with. Yeah. So that's kind of how I generally conceptualize it. But what you said about shit, the fuck, I lost my train of thought there. What you were just saying, what were you just saying? You were just saying about
answering questions in the way
the can men get pregnant question.
Mm-hmm.
You're 100% right about that. And I don't know why it has taken like the left so long to figure this out.
To me to watch.
They don't mean can people with a male gender get pregnant. Nope. That is not the question they are asking. By jumping to that immediately, you look like a crazy person. Yeah. Because you're just not understanding the question that they're asking. The appropriate thing to answer is no, men can't get pregnant. And then they go, oh, so are you saying trans men aren't men then? No, I'm not. And it's like, what the fuck do you mean? It's like, well, you're talking about sex. I'm talking about gender. Do you need me to explain that difference to you further? Because it's a pretty fucking simple concept for most people to understand. You know, and that's how you go on the offensive. If you start playing defense, you're gonna fucking lose immediately. It's wild that people haven't figured that out yet.
Insanity. And there's a lot of things like this where we try to dance around the act. It's like answer the question that they're actually asking. And what honestly, and I hate to say it, not only the question they're asking, but what most people hear, right? Like most people aren't hearing. And so if you say, look, the answer is no, and they, well, wow, you know, this lefty here or this Democrat policy says that, you know, so, that's trans men. Trans men can get, are you saying trans men can't get pregnant? Are you saying that? Are you saying that is impossible? Because it clearly is. And they say, well, I don't think trans men are men. Okay, well, I know. Because when you start saying, I don't know, it's pretty simple to me, but a lot of people are afraid of, you know, saying the wrong thing, which hurts us, ironically, that you're afraid of saying the wrong thing. And because there's ways around it. And if you're clever enough and funny enough and interesting enough, you can get away with a lot. I see a comment conservative of the Ozark says, I think John's example of supporting cisgender expression of gender is great. I think understanding that it's easier for some than understanding transgender expression. Yeah, this is a big thing that if I wish that's one thing we could send home more about what John said, that everyone practices gender expression. Like the way you do your hair, if you grow facial hair, the clothes you wear, how you speak, how you stand, like what activities you partake in. Almost like 90% of it is gender expression. Like you just don't think about it because, well, that's the normal thing to do. But whenever someone steps out of the bounds of what is and isn't permitted, it scares people.
Why the fuck is TJ's watch so thick? Why?
Exactly.
There's no reason for that practically. Yes. That is gender expression right there. He's not wearing a dainty little watch. He's wearing a nice, thick man's
watch. Yeah. Okay. You know what I found out a couple weeks ago? You know how boys and girls' bikes are shaped differently? You know what I'm talking about?
I did not know that. No.
Oh, okay. Well, a boy's bike will have like a triangle, like right above like the axle and everything. It's just a bar that goes underneath the seat. And a girl's bike, the bar goes down like that. And I never knew why. I could never figure out why, like, the girls in the neighborhood had different bikes than the boys, and like the bar went down. I thought, is it maybe so like, I couldn't figure. The answer is when bikes were first made, 100 and something years ago, women didn't wear pants; they wore dresses, and so they had the bar go down so women could ride a dress and ride a bike at the same time. But this conversation would be better if you know what I was talking about. But if you ever check, yeah, men's and women's bikes are shaped differently, and it's kind of odd. But yeah, no need for it now, but we still do it.
All right. Well, TJ, I do want to get to our last topic here.
Let's go.
Right. And so I came across a site that has odds on different like political bets. Polymarket does this, but I didn't go to Polymarket because I couldn't get the actual question that I wanted answered from Polymarket. They didn't have any bets on it. But the first thing that I want us to put a bet on, first of all, I just want to ask you the question, and I have Welcome to Left Wing here because I have the odds that in the title of the lower third. But if you were to place a money line, plus or minus, on will Donald Trump finish his first term in office, where would you put that money line? Donald Trump will finish his term. What's the money line?
All right. So I think I've gone on record saying that Donald Trump will live forever. So I'm going like, negative 500. Trump does finish. I'm going strong on this. I'm sticking with this bet. I don't think that the evil gods who rule this planet are taking Trump away from us anytime soon. So I'm betting heavy that Trump does finish. That might not be what the consensus view is, but it's mine.
So, according to betus.com, the money line for Trump finishing his second term is minus 120.
Yo, hey, all right.
It is even. It is an even bet. Either bet that you make, I don't know why I just did that. Hold on, give me a second here. But either bet that you make, it's minus 120. They are saying even odds for him to finish the term versus not finish the term. So I imagine you are hammering that yes, minus 120.
Yes, absolutely. Man. Wait, what do you think? Like, what do you think on this? Like, do you think Trump will finish it?
I would hammer minus 120. Don't get me wrong.
Okay.
I am on record saying that there is a much larger chance than I think a lot of people realize that he won't. And I think I have said I lean towards he's not going to finish it. And I think I still lean that way. So one would think I would say no here. And I guess this is why I don't bet, because I bet scared. Like, it does feel like the right answer is he'll finish it. And I kind of agree with you on that. And it's more so my gut feeling that tells me he won't. And so I try to ignore that gut feeling that with my brain instead of my heart. So yeah, I would bet with you there, but it would be, my gut feeling is that he won't finish.
Real? Oh, okay. All right. Well, so you think just he's too old and sick, and that he's not gonna power through, and that he's tempting fate?
There are enough. If you took any individual, he doesn't finish the term because he's impeached, because he quits, because he dies, because whatever. Like, any single one of them isn't more likely than not. But all together, I think you can make the case that I'll take the field versus he's going to finish out his term. So, like, yeah, but again, it's close. It's close to me. I'm just surprised that in this betting market, that it's like, that shocks me. I would have bet that it's at least minus 250. For those of you who don't like sports bet and shit, when you go minus, those numbers are how much you get if you bet $100, or how much you need to bet in order to make $100. My bad. So if you bet $120 and you win, you make $100. If it was plus 120, that means if you bet $100, you would make 120. That's how it works, right? But there are some other interesting bets here. So Donald Trump Sr. to be on the 2028 presidential election ballot, plus 750. Would you bet $100?
Wait, what was the bet?
Donald Trump to be on the 2028 presidential election ballot, would you bet $100 in order to win 750 that Donald Trump will be on the 2028 ballot?
Wait a minute. If it's plus if it's plus 750, that means that it's not the betting odds are that he's not going to be on it.
Correct. Yes.
Yeah. So I'm on. Yeah, I agree. I don't think that Trump will be on the ballot in the 2028 election. I don't, because there's a better way for him to do it. He could just do I don't know when this happened with Vladimir Putin, when he had finished out his term as either president or prime minister or whatever, and he just did something else and just had a puppet run in his stead. I can see Trump doing that. Like, it'd just be a lot easier, like, trying to finagle the Supreme Court or find a way around the Constitution. It just seems like more work than it's worth when you could just have a puppet guy do it for you. So I like that. What about you?
I see. I just don't think that Trump would care to have a puppet. Like, what's the point for Trump if there's a puppet? Like, Trump doesn't actually give a shit about the power. He just wants the recognition. So I see no reason for Trump to do that. And so I also don't see him lasting. I definitely don't see him lasting until 2032. Just life-wise, it would surprise me if that happens. So I don't see the point in it. But I do see the point in him trying to run again, because of course he wants to. I don't think he's going to practically be able to do that.
Do they have one? I don't know how this would even be worded, but if he loses, will he just leave? Because that's what I'm worried about more than anything else. Like, we've already seen that Trump doesn't seem too keen on the whole leaving office if his party loses power. What are we going to do? Like, I can see that being a decent bet that Trump actually sticks around for a while, or at least does another January 6th. I mean, the last one, January 6th, is one of the most successful political movements I've ever witnessed. I can't believe it was, but January 6th fucking worked. It took 4 years for it to work, but it did. I see no reason to believe Trump won't try it again if he loses.
All right. So, money line, over under on Trump's approval rating. Where would you set that?
Like, wait a minute, for when? For now? Because
so this will be. You're right. I should have specified. This is his approval rating on January 1st, 2026. Will it be over or under what?
My over under for Trump's approval rating, I would set it at 37.
37. Okay, so you would be much lower than what the betting market puts it at.
Really?
BetUS puts it at 42.5%.
Oh, okay.
I am slamming that under.
Yeah. I like the under on that one.
This exercise is making me want to place bets on this because I feel like I could eat up a lot of these bets. I just
wait. What is the over under according to what? Like, which poll are they taking? Do they specify? Because that's important.
That is, what do they say there? According to Nate Silver. So Silver Bulletin.
Okay. Yeah, I like it. I like 37. I like 30. Yeah.
I'm hammering the under on that. What is the approval rating right now?
On Nate Silver, Trump approval rating? Yeah, I'd like to see that. Because I can't imagine Trump's approval rating is, I mean, if it's 40%, I would be surprised, but it might be. But it's certainly not 45. There's no way it's 45. There's just no chance. And I don't
think... as of today, 44.1.
44. Wow. That is well.
So it is assuming it'll go down.
Damn.
But not as I didn't think it was that high.
I can't believe it's 44. Like, is there a historical chart on there? Has it gone up, or is it in recent months?
Yes, there is.
That really surprised. 44. Damn. That is the Olympus has fallen, folks. It is over. Like, the United States. I can't believe it's at 44 right now. That is, I would have bet it was in sub 40 temperature range easily.
So this is the chart. This is the approval rating, and it has been remarkably steady.
That's amazing. That is amazing. I would have guessed it was
actually improved.
Improved, yeah. So
February. In February, the lowest in 40, and it had.
You know what?
Oh no, wait, I'm sorry. Disapprove. has increased. So yeah, it has
It has
fallen,
dropped.
it has dropped, and honestly, it's near the lowest it's been right now. It's on January 21st, it was 51.6. So a 10-point drop in a year is pretty bad, but it should be a lot fucking lower.
Yeah, not nearly low enough. That is a little bit depressing, I guess. That I thought Trump would have been a little bit more unpopular, but hey, that feeling a lot less confident about that sub 42 now. I gotta say, in 4 months? I don't know.
It's 4 months. That's a lot of movement. A lot can happen. It's just
well, see, now that I think about it, Trump probably has like a solid 35 guaranteed. It's not going to go much lower than that. So it does, I guess, if you have a few people he picks up, 7 more points. 42 is a good number. That's a good number to pick right there. That makes it a lot trickier.
Okay, and I'm seeing if there's any other interesting ones. The problem with a lot of these are like in 2025, and we're near the end of 2025 now, so they're less interesting bets to me because we kind of know the answers, which also makes me want to fucking bet on some of these, I guess, because it's like, will Donald Trump Sr. abolish the IRS in 2025?
No,
he won't.
No chance. If there's one about abolishing the Department of Education, I would bet that's not going to happen. There was one that I wish. Oh, yeah.
Will Donald Trump Sr. and the Department
not going anywhere?
25. Yes, plus 1,200.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
$1,200.
Yeah. Exactly. So
I'm not. I mean, I guess I could. I could wager that money.
How badly do you want that $100?
I'm not that much of a gambler.
Exactly. There was one that I wish I could have got in on. I didn't find out about it until it was over. You would have done it too. But it was, do you remember when we were talking about Elon Musk and him releasing the robo-taxis in Austin, Texas? And we were saying that in June. He said he'd do it in June. I said, whenever they release this, it's going to be highly geo-fenced. It's going to be watched over by human beings. It's not going to be robo-taxis, he promised. And I found out a couple of weeks later that there was, I don't know if it was a Polymarket bet, I think it was, but it said that will Elon Musk release robo-taxis in June of 2025? And the stipulations were, this cannot be a limited release where they bring in people that's handpicked to review it. It can't be a geofence thing. It has to be an actual robotaxi like Waymo has, something like that. And of course, I said, man, I wish I could have gotten on that bet. Because of course he wasn't going to. Of course he wasn't. In fact, if there are any Elon bets out there, I'm taking that he's not going to do it. But people had to catch on by now. I don't know.
TJ, this is going to be an episode.
Let's go.
In January,
Mm-hmm.
We're going to take a look at these bets.
Oh,
and we're going to make some bets. And it'll be something we can track throughout the year.
I can't wait. That should be fun.
We're going to make bank on it.
I can't wait.
Our YouTube channel's demonetized, so we got to make money somewhere.
This will be the start of our empire through illicit gambling. Yeah, I love it.
All right. Well, we are wrapping up to the end of the show. Anything else you want to discuss before we?
I don't think so. I think see any comments we may want to see here. John would love to explain this to people in the 1960s. I don't know what that's in reference to.
I kind of want to know that too.
Yeah. Harris for president. Oh, that'd be an interesting one.
What are the okay? That hold on. I can take a look at that. I have to look it up though. Presidential election winner 2028. This is on Polymarket.
Mm-hmm. It's illegal for us to use Polymarket, right? I don't think American citizens can use Polymarket. Is that
the case? I don't fucking know. It was illegal for me to do a lot of the sports betting I did.
Well, you can't bet on presidential elections in the United States. That is illegal. So maybe that's just that certain bet was off limits.
Got you. So number one right now on Polymarket, 28% chance JD Vance, then Gavin Newsom, then AOC, then Pete Buttigieg, then Marco Rubio. Everyone below Marco Rubio is just insulting. Gretchen Whitmer, Andy Bashir, Wes Moore. Oh my God, Dwayne The Rock Johnson, Josh Shapiro, Donald Trump, then Kamala Harris.
Yeah, well, hey.
God damn, that's insulting to Kamala. Oh my God.
I don't think she's gonna do it anyway. But she might try, but I don't know.
She's gotta run.
Speaking of Gavin Newsom, I'm sorry we didn't get to the show, but I wanted to talk about the posts that he'd been making. Of course, he's been doing the trolling against Trump and all that, but he also been doing some great ones where he shows like him and the governor of Alabama or the governor of South Carolina or something. And all right, South Carolina crime rate is 14 times higher than California's crime rate. I need Democrats to start doing this more and more.
Yep.
How many times have we been putting up with these? How many times have we had to put up with these last couple of decades of every time a Republican opens their mouth, they're talking about the blue city hellholes and how bad Democrat governance is? I never hear this from Democrats. I never hear them talking about how Mississippi is an unlivable wasteland and Arkansas is a garbage state. Start doing it. Like Republicans would have been doing it nonstop to blue cities fight fire with fire. I mean, I hate to be glazing Gavin Newsom, but he's the only one playing this game properly so far. We're the
And he really
best
should.
one.
But just to soapbox real quick, because I say that all the time, and the response you always get from conservatives, oh, well, all the crime's happening in the blue cities in the red states. And it always makes me want to just my head explode, because I'm like, bro, there's blue cities in the red states and the blue states. They exist in both of these states. If the blue cities were the problem, there's more of them in the blue states and they are bigger. So you would think the blue states would have the higher crime rates. Oh, but they do not. And they never I've said these arguments to the same fucking people and they never fucking it's the most basic fucking math problem you could possibly give, and they fit it time and time.
Yeah, somehow blue state and blue city has lower crime than red state and blue city. Please explain how that works. Like if the blue city were a problem, we would know. What they like to say is that, oh, well, the blue states just aren't reporting their crime accurately. Like they're just letting criminals go. It's like, okay, so why are we having this discussion? Like if you don't care what the stats say anyway, what does it matter? And it goes beyond crime too. Like blue states also have like worse rates of heart failure and worse rates of sex offenders and child abuse and worse education. Like that's not indicative of just the cities. That's everywhere. And Colby says that there are no major Republican cities. I think we talked about this for a reason, that you can't, honestly. It's very difficult that once your city hits like 500K, it's almost impossible to have Republican governance because like the city has to exist, right? Like Republicans don't know.
You need public infrastructure. You need social safety nets in order to have that many people in one place. And the reason you want that many people in all of that one place, because it just makes fucking money. They're the fucking powerhouses of our economy. You need it. And you just can't, Republicans cannot build an economic powerhouse in the likes of New York City or Los Angeles. They can't fucking do it. Even red states, Miami, fucking blue. You know, like it's Atlanta, fucking blue. It's not a fucking coincidence, people. It's because our policies are better for the economy.
Yes, Republicans, like the entire conservative movement, the Republican Party is built to appeal to one type of person, a white Christian conservative. If you want an economic powerhouse for the region, you're going to need more than those people. And if you, like John said, if you want social services, you want public transportation, you want the trash picked up, you want a stable police force. Honestly, like everything that you need for society, Republicans are completely against, which is why they only exist in counties with 4 people per square mile. That's just why it works that way.
All right. Well, thank you for making it to the end of this episode. I'm John Cooper. This is TJ Whitehead. You either just watched a very well-produced, concise, singular video about a very specific topic, or you watched us go off on a tangent about movies again. Either one should have been entertaining to you, but make sure to like and subscribe so you can see them all. And TJ, say something else, because usually we throw to our guests at this point.
That's all right. Folks, we appreciate you watching the show. I want you all to know that today's episode was sponsored by Boys and Girls Bicycles. If you look on the right, you will see a boys bicycle, a very masculine bar across the center. And on the left, you will see a girls bicycle, a very feminine slope across the center. There's no reason for this anymore. It's something that we did 150 years ago and have stuck with today, even though it serves no practical purpose. But gender exists. It's a real thing in human expression and mechanical expression. We will catch you guys next time. Enjoy the rest of your evening.